So to start the demo here, we're first going to sign up a new user. It's going to ask for 4 key pieces of information, which is a name, an email address, a password, and a password confirmation. The password confirmation must match the password in order for it to be a valid sign-up. Next, we're going to create an account for a user, which will represent a user's company. From here, we can check out the receptacles, and because there are no receptacles on the account, you'll see nothing in the list. At this point, if you look to the bottom right part of the screen, I'm going to be plugging in the receptacle, which will boot it up. As the receptacle turns on, it will go through its initial booting phase, which Keller can explain in more detail. It is then defaulted to off, and as you'll see on the web portal, as it goes through its boot phase, it is then loaded into the web portal. From there, we can rename it to anything besides the MAC address, which it is defaulted to. So for example, my first receptacle, and it'll take you to see the initial schedule. The default schedule is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So while you would expect the receptacle to be on, the way the logic works is that every minute on the minute, it will pull every single schedule and check which receptacles are in the proper state. So on an initial boot up, the first receptacle will turn on if it is expected to be on the start of the first minute. This is just me waiting for the receptacle to turn on, and as you will see in a few seconds, the LED will turn green and the light bulb will turn on, showing that the receptacle is in its on state automatically from the schedule. Now from here, we'll show that the scheduling actually works, and we'll change the schedule for all the days to a time where it's expected to be off. The time of this video was 10:30 in the morning, so I'm going to quickly switch it to 10 a.m., and as you can see, the light bulb switches off. Going the other way, we can change the schedule so that it's supposed to be in an on state, like so, where we switch the weekdays to end at 8 p.m. And once the schedule is submitted here, you see that the receptacle turns on and the light bulb lights up. To confirm that the scheduling looks, we can click the show button, which reveals information about the receptacle. The receptacle status is on at the bottom of the screen, and also the schedule displays the proper times for each day. Moving on, if you click the account name at the top of the screen, Smart Receptacles, you then go to the account settings. Here you can change things like the override timer length, which we are doing now. So I'm setting it to 1 minute for a later part of the demo. And as well, you'd be able to add users, which we can go ahead and show now. First, I need to log out of my current user, and then go back to sign up and create a second user in the database. For the sake of the demo, we'll just call him a new user. And again, the password and password confirmation must match. Great, so rather than create an account, we'll go back to our initial manager who created the account, the company account, and we'll log back in as him. And then going into the account settings once more, we can add a user by their email address. So we'll make sure the email address matches new@gmail.com, and you'll see that he gets added into the list of users on the account. Currently, all users that get added to a certain company account are added as just simple employees, while the creator of the account is a manager. So you'll see that a manager has the ability to schedule here, but if we go back to our other user, new@gmail.com, and log him in, his page will not show a schedule button because he does not have the power to create a master schedule for any receptacle. As well, going back into the account settings, you'll see that they cannot change the override timer length or add users to the account because this is a job that is strictly for the manager. Lastly, we're going to log back in as our manager and then show the override capability. First, we're going to have to make sure that the receptacle is scheduled to be off, so we're going to first change that schedule, and then once we do that, it should be in an off state, and we will see that we can override. So we've updated the schedule, and the light bulb turns off because the receptacle is not in an on state, and what we can do now is do the remote override, as you see here. Now, as we saw before, we configured the override timer length to be 1 minute, but for the sake of the demo video, I've sped it up in a little bit of a time lapse. So I'm just waiting here for it to turn off after a minute. And so it does. The last part of the override that we can check then is the manual override. So by pushing the button, we will see that it turns on, and then again another time-lapse video for just one more minute to see that it is actually working from the web server, not hard-coded onto the MCU as it was in M8. Great, and there it turns off, and that shows all of the functionality from my end in terms of the web server.